Nanami Momozono, a human high school student, is homeless after being evicted from her apartment after her father ran away from his gambling debts. While sitting in a park, she shoos away a dog harassing a man named Mikage, who, after hearing her circumstances, gives her a map to his home and leaves her with a wave and a kiss on the forehead. The home turns out to be a rundown shrine, where a fox yokai named Tomoe is angry that Mikage, the land god of the shrine, who has been gone for 20 years, has given Nanami the deity mark of the land god by kissing her forehead, making her the new land god of the shrine. Tomoe refuses to serve Nanami and leaves in frustration. The next day, Onikiri and Kotetsu, Tomoe's two shrine spirits, tell Nanami all the duties of a land god which Tomoe previously had to do alone, including keeping written records of human prayers. Onikiri and Kotetsu bring her to the world over yonder to see Tomoe, but she decides to leave after hearing him express his disinterest in the shrine. On the way back to the shrine, after Nanami manages to slip past 3 demons thanks to Onikiri and Kotetsu, a demon hag begins chasing her in a forest. In order to be saved from this demon, Nanami forcefully kisses Tomoe to form a contract, forever binding him as her familiar. When Nanami wakes up, Tomoe tells her that she can increase her divine power by being a matchmaker and answering prayers. Nanami is excited when news spreads that pop star Shinjiro Kurama is a transfer student at her school. However, Tomoe only allows her to go to school under the condition that she wears a hood to conceal the deity mark on her forehead, which, while being invisible to humans, is fully visible to other gods and spirits seeking to steal her divine power. To make matters worse, Nanami learns that Kurama is a jerk and becomes depressed, much to Tomoe's worry. At lunchtime, Nanami is framed for stealing Kurama's money, until Tomoe makes a grand entrance in front of the other students, clearing her name and serving her lunch. The next day at school, deciding not to wear the hood, Nanami is approached by Kurama, but she turns him down. He later calls her up to the school roof to question her negative attitude towards him, causing her to leave in disgust. Tomoe, soon realizing that Kurama is a Crow Tengu yokai who seeks to replace Nanami as land god, manages to wound his face, turns him into an ostrich, and chases him through the hallways. When Nanami finds out about this, she orders Tomoe to revert Kurama back to normal. She treats Kurama's wound, telling him that he should always look his best in front of all the girls. Himemiko of the swamp, the imperial priestess who is a catfish yokai, comes to pay respect to Nanami, which Tomoe disallows. This leads Tomoe to argue with Aotake, Himemiko's familiar, prompting Nanami to intervene between the two. Nanami stops Tomoe by use of a sacred word binding, which forces Tomoe to obey against his will. Himemiko requests Nanami to help her reconnect with a human boy named Kotaro Urashima, who she met 10 years ago at Lake Isara near a park. And despite Tomoe saying that it is forbidden for a yokai to love a human, Nanami still promises to help Himemiko. The next day, Nanami and Tomoe go to town to look for Kotaro, finding him employed at a restaurant. Nanami later manages to persuade Kotaro to meet Himemiko in the park. The following afternoon, Tomoe transforms Himemiko to look like a human girl and sends her to the park, where Kotaro has Himemiko play with his Rubik's Cube while he leaves to buy sodas. However, when Himemiko is bullied by 2 boys, Nanami discreetly boosts Kotaro using a white talisman she places on a tree, which gives him the courage to save Himemiko. Nanami saves a white snake from being assaulted by her classmates at school, but it leaves a mark of betrothal on her wrist when she lets it outside. When Tomoe finds out, he goes to school with her because he does not want her to be kidnapped. After finishing the shift to fill up the class daybook, Nanami goes off first because Tomoe fell asleep, but she is kidnapped by Mizuki, the white snake who is actually a yokai and former familiar, and takes her to his shrine in hopes of marrying her. After she realizes that she cannot leave the premises of the shrine, she decides to rest there, hoping that Tomoe will rescue her. Nanami later learns that Yonomori Mitsuha, the water god of the shrine, died years ago. Nanami refuses to stay with Mizuki, but when Mizuki tries to make a move on her, Tomoe comes to rescue her and burns down the shrine. However, Nanami stops Tomoe from burning down the Yonomori's plum tree, which is precious to Mizuki. Before Nanami and Tomoe head back to the shrine, Nanami promises to see Mizuki again when he feels lonely. Narukami, the god of thunder, who has always wanted Tomoe to be her familiar, is distraught upon learning that a mere human like Nanami is the new land god. In order to claim Tomoe for herself, Narukami tracks Nanami to the school, steals Nanami's deity mark, and transforms Tomoe into a child. When Kurama finds Nanami and Tomoe outside, he brings them to his house so Nanami can take care of Tomoe, who has a fever due to his weakened state. Narukami is horrified that the shrine is falling to pieces because Tomoe is not there to maintain it with his power. The next day, Narukami's shrine spirits summon Tomoe to see Narukami, leaving Nanami in tears. With Kurama's help, Onikiri and Kotetsu bring Nanami back to the shrine, but Tomoe hides from Narukami within the shrine. After Nanami finds Tomoe inside his pocket mirror, Narukami's shrine spirits return the deity mark to Nanami and have Tomoe revert to normal. Tomoe kisses Nanami to reseal the commitment of being her familiar, and a sort of gratitude for her helping him. Nanami stays home with a cold while Tomoe goes to school disguised as her in order to keep her attendance rate from slipping. Kurama is surprised when Tomoe is actually a student at this school, but has no idea that Nanami is currently Tomoe in disguise, believing that the actual Tomoe is absent. Kurama takes advantage of this and tries to impress Tomoe in English literature class and music class, but Tomoe shows no appreciation. After Kurama warns Tomoe that the presence of a miasma has increased inside the school, Tomoe finds that the source is coming from a demon with a large tongue inside the girls' locker room. He saves a girl named Ami Nekota from this demon, while Kurama tells Ami to keep what she saw a secret. Meanwhile, Mizuki pays Nanami a visit at the shrine and puts her to sleep to show her a peek of Tomoe's past at the village. She briefly meets an evil Tomoe, who slaughters a demon first disguised as an injured boy she found in a nearby forest. She runs back into the forest, but slips and falls. Nanami wakes up from her dream, and Tomoe returns to the shrine to kick Mizuki out. Nanami is glad to see the kind-hearted Tomoe once again. At school, after dealing with Tomoe and Kurama's gained popularity and rivalry against each other, Nanami finds Ami, who has a crush on Kurama ever since what happened during the girls' locker room incident. Nanami experiments a little with her divine powers by planning to get Kurama and Ami alone together in the hallways. Nanami, struggling to define exactly how she feels about Tomoe, allows a girl to walk home with him, but he later rejects the girl's offer and confronts Nanami about this. Thanks to the advice given by Ami's friend Kie Ueshima, Nanami decides to take Tomoe out on a date to an aquarium, but her childish attitude becomes problematic. At the roof of the aquarium, based on what Kurama told him earlier, Tomoe suspects Nanami to feel seduced in some way, to which she confesses her love for him. This causes Tomoe to grab her and walk across the ledge of the roof, telling her to clear her mind. However, she slips from his hands when she questions her attractiveness, falling at breakneck speed. Tomoe jumps off to save Nanami, but she orders him not to touch her. After Tomoe promises that he will not touch her ever again, she allows him to save her, but Nanami then contemplates about her forbidden love for him. Summer break is here, and Nanami goes to the beach with Ami and Kie to take her mind off of her broken heart. Although Tomoe originally planned not to join them, he reluctantly accompanies them after Mizuki decides to tag along. At first, things go fine, even though Tomoe shows jealousy for Mizuki being allowed to touch Nanami. Meanwhile, it is shown that Mikage is secretly at the beach as well with Otohiko, the wind god. Otohiko secretly causes Ami to drown in the ocean, and Nanami requests Tomoe to save Ami even against his better judgment. Unbeknownst, this is Otohiko's doing. Suddenly, the Dragon King appears to collect a debt from Tomoe since 526 years ago for attacking the north gate of Ryugu Castle and for gouging out his right eye. The Demon King captures Tomoe as collateral, and he tells Nanami that the debt will be repaid if his right eye is returned to him within 2 days. When Nanami returns to the shrine, she asks Mizuki to help her travel back in time to retrieve the Dragon King's right eye from Tomoe. Nanami and Mizuki follow Tomoe to his home, where they discover that Tomoe wanted to use the eye to help cure Yukiji, Tomoe's past girlfriend. When Tomoe leaves, Nanami chooses to let Yukiji consume the eye, rather than to leave her feeling ill. Nanami and Mizuki return to the present, and they visit a yokai named Isohime, who can extract the eye now within Nanami's body in exchange for 30 years of her life. Isohime extracts the eye and renders Nanami unconscious, but Mizuki kisses Nanami to become her familiar, to save her from Isohime and to recover the eye. After Nanami wakes up to realizing that Mizuki is now her familiar, the two head to the Dragon King's palace, encountering Kamehime, later recognized as the Dragon King's wife, who loses a quilted half-coat while going to the palace. Tomoe breaks free and attacks the Dragon King, but Nanami arrives to stop the fight. Nanami states that regardless if Tomoe does not want to open up to her anymore, she will always have feelings for him. Mizuki then arrives, bringing the half-coat to give to the Dragon King, who was unaware that Kamehime was the one who made it in the first place. Tomoe is dismayed upon learning that Mizuki will now be living at the shrine. In a flashback, Mikage brings Tomoe to a shrine and learns that Tomoe is depressed about Yukiji's death. After Tomoe becomes Mikage's familiar, Mikage lectures Tomoe for letting a demon get away because he was rescuing a human girl in the process. Even so, Tomoe pledges to serve Mikage as his familiar for several hundred years. Having been abandoned by Mikage, Tomoe becomes depressed and lonely until Nanami arrives. Back in the present, Nanami agrees to go to a mixer with Ami and Kie, who wants to hook up with a guy since she was recently dumped by her boyfriend. During the mixer, Nanami finds Mizuki in his white snake form inside Ami's purse, grabbing him and taking him straight to the restroom. Tomoe comes in the restroom to retrieve Mizuki and leaves. A boy she meets in the mixer brings her outside for some fresh air and starts flirting with her, but Tomoe arrives and kicks the boy to the curb. Tomoe grabs her hand firmly and tells her that they are going home, and Nanami realizes that Tomoe may have feelings for her. Mizuki decides to go into town to search for Kurama, but ends up being invited by Kurama's manager to a lunch party. Mizuki wonders how Kurama can live a life of stardom instead of living in a shrine. Mizuki gets drunk at the party, and a girl, mistreated by her employer, takes him outside to recuperate. As a reward for her good deed before leaving, Mizuki gives the girl his sake, which would purify one's mind, shown when her employer calms down after drinking it. The next morning, Tomoe refuses to go to an amusement park to ride the Ferris wheel. That is until she finds an elegant hairpin in his room, making her suspicious. At the amusement park, Tomoe convinces Nanami to ride a roller coaster with her, despite her not wanting to go on it, and Tomoe fixes Nanami's messy hair with a hairpin after the ride is over. Nanami later runs away in tears after seeing Tomoe fondling another girl's hair, when in fact he was helping her up from a fall. She ends up riding the Ferris wheel alone in the evening and realizes that she was wearing the same hairpin from this morning when her hair becomes undone. Tomoe finds her there and explains that he bought the hairpin for her a long time ago, but stored it away since she rarely wears her hair up. By hearing this from him, Nanami finally smiles. At the store, Nanami gets upset when she overhears two women claiming that the shrine is haunted due to its rundown appearance. When she returns to the shrine, she sees Tomoe sitting on a tree branch, pondering whether or not to cut it down since it is already wrapping around the torii. Nanami has an idea to hold a festival in hopes of raising the reputation of the shrine, though Tomoe thinks this is a bad idea, especially after seeing her attempt to repair a palanquin. Nonetheless, he tells her that her presence has made the shrine look brighter. Nanami passes out posters and invitations for the upcoming festival. With only a week away from this festival, Nanami wants to plan events to attract tourists. Kurama passes by the shrine, suggesting that the event should include a kagura dance and a fortune-telling, and he gives Nanami some yam love treats as a gift. Tomoe has Nanami try on a beautiful kimono, and later has her rehearse the difficult kagura dance for 2 days. Otohiko appears at the shrine to release some miasma into the air, but Nanami fails to exorcise it after many attempts. Tomoe takes Nanami back inside the shrine, while he and Mizuki handle the miasma. Nanami feels useless as a god and runs away from the shrine. Tomoe, recalling when Mikage also suddenly left the shrine 20 years ago, calls out for Nanami, and a box in the shed filled with miasma rips open. Tomoe and Mizuki look for Nanami, leaving Onikiri and Kotetsu to fend off the miasma by themselves. After searching in many different places, Tomoe figures out that Nanami used a white talisman to turn herself into air. Meanwhile, Nanami, recalling the events leading to meeting Tomoe for the first time, returns to the shrine after she realizes that it is her home. A Tsuchigomo, which Mikage had sealed and stored long ago in the shed, breaks out of the box. Nanami saves Onikiri and Kotetsu from the Tsuchigomo, and she manages to defeat it with the kagura dance, with some help from Tomoe and Mizuki. On the day of the festival, some familiar faces show up, much to Nanami's surprise, and she later performs the kagura dance in front of everyone there. After that, while Mizuki, Onikiri, and Kotetsu go into the shrine to make sake, Nanami asks Tomoe how her kagura dance was. Nanami teases Tomoe when he comments that it was beautiful. Tomoe then tells Nanami that he wants to form the familiar contract with her again, but this time from the bottom of his heart, and they do so by sealing it with a kiss. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to let us know by leaving a like, subscribe for more stories, and check out other stories here. And if you enjoyed my voice, there is a link to my Twitter and YouTube down in the description below. Once again, thanks for watching.